Hey there, welcome to another episode of 9 Minute Big Life Experience. If this is the first time you've joined me, welcome. Basically, the gist of this is that I want to condense and summarize an experience either myself or one of my guests have had into 9 minutes. And the reason being is that we're all so time poor that anything longer than 10 minutes just seems to get kind of put to the side. I mean, I've got some terrible examples of things that I should be doing that only take 10 minutes long, like meditating, but I always find other things to do. So here's hoping that in 9 minutes I can completely distill down a story into something that either entertains or informs or helps you live a better life. Cool. So on this episode, what I thought I would talk about is a time where I got busted for buying hashish in India. So this was back in 2007, and I was backpacking around East Asia and India with a really good mate of mine, Ben, and we'd got to, we're in New Delhi, and we were waiting. Ben had just gone to grab a bit of a sleep during the middle of the day, and I thought, actually, I want to go and get stoned. So I walked down one of these streets, and it's a typical street in one of these big megalopolises, is that what they're called? Anyway, massive cities, where there's just tuk-tuks everywhere, there's people everywhere, there's sights, there's smells, just you name it. Anyway, I must have a sign flashing above my head because a tuk-tuk driver looks at me and he says, "Oh, do you want to buy hashish?" I say, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do this." So I jump in the back of his tuk-tuk. If you don't know what one of those are, get a visual off Google, and then we drive off for about 10 or 15 minutes. We pull up on this road where there's no one else, and then he takes off. 5 or so minutes later, I'm sitting in the back of this tuk-tuk, and then he pops his head around and he gives all this stuff to me, this hashish, and then I hold it and I think, and he's clearly got a panicked look on his face, and then before I can even kind of think, there's a cop there, and the cop's beating him, whacking him up. So whacking this guy beside the tuk-tuk on the outside of the little cab that I'm in. So I grab the hash and I stick it behind my head. And then after a little bit of these guys are talking in a language I don't understand, and then the guy says to me, "Okay, we're in trouble. You need to get out." So at this stage, I'm shitting my pants. I'm super scared. I can normally maintain a reasonable decorum about myself, but in this instance, it's all gone. I get out and the cop gestures for my passport. So I give him my passport and he writes stuff down, and then he gives it back to me. Now, I know I've completely lost my ability to think, because when I go to sit back down in the tuk-tuk, my legs actually give out from under me. They're gone. So I end up kind of slumping back into this little car, and then prop myself up. And then we get told the driver or the dealer has to get in. So he's in the far side, I'm in the middle, and then the cop's sitting beside me. We're all in the back of this little tuk-tuk. And there's a lot of conversation going on. The dealer's panicked. I'm panicking. I'm saying, "What's going on?" He said, we're in trouble. We're going to get 10 years for this. This is 10 years in prison. My heart is racing 1,000 miles an hour. And I'm saying to him, excuse the phrases, but I basically said to him, no, I wanted to get a prostitute. I wanted to get a hooker. I don't know why you've come back with drugs. And he said, no, he knows this is bullshit. And so I'm sitting there, I'm sweating bullets. And then slowly but surely I start to kind of regain my faculties. And then I said to him, I look at the dealer and I say, "How much is it going to cost me to get out of this problem?" Because I'm thinking, right, I need to start bribing my way out of this situation. He looks at the cop, and then after a bit of conversation, he says, "This is going to cost 10,000 rupees." Now, at the time, 10,000 rupees was about 400 New Zealand dollars, which was probably about 200 US. Now, my maths has never been a strong suit, but if I'm going to do 10 years in a prison in India, or I'm going to pay 400 New Zealand dollars, I'm pretty sure I already know which one I want to choose. So, okay, let's do this. So I said, right, I don't have the money on me. Let's go to a cash machine. We drive to the cash machine, and then when we get out, the dealer and the cop are talking, and then the dealer says, you have to get a receipt from the ATM. And I'm thinking, fuck, if I get a receipt from this ATM, I'm going to get cleaned out here. So I go up there, I withdraw the money, and I come back, and the dealer say, no, you have to get the receipt, you have to get the receipt. And I'm like, no way is that going to happen. I climb back into the tuk-tuk, we resume our positions in the back, dealer, me, the cop. And then I'm holding this money, and then I look at the dealer and I said, you have to give him this money. I'm not going to give this to him. And the reason I'm not going to give this money to him, in my mind, is I'm thinking, if I give this cop this money, then he's just going to catch me for bribing him anyway. So I force the money onto the dealer, and he gives the cop the money, and then the cop goes through it. He's asking for the receipt. I'm saying you're not getting one. And then after that, the cop looks at him, and they kind of had this conversation. And then the dealer turns to me and says, okay, well, where do you want to get dropped off? Man, I can't tell you how happy I was to have that kind of conversation. That tail end of it anyway. So I say, yeah, drop me off up at these lights that are further up the road. So they take me up to the lights, and then the dealer gives me the hash that I'd purchased, I'd already paid for. And I'm such a wreck that I can't even hold it in my hands. Like I can't even actually put it in my hands to pocket it. And instead, I kind of push it away from my body with both of my hands open, and it just falls onto the ground. I mean, this is a really meek effort I've put forward here. But in any case, they very kindly stop off at the lights, and I get out, and then I'm kind of stumbling back across the road. And within 30 seconds, I realize that they dropped me off pretty much right in the same place that the dealer had picked me up in the first instance. I'm like, man, this is just the best thing that's happening to me right now. I'm so glad to be out of that situation. I get back and see Ben, regale him with this story, and yeah, my life carries on, and I end up doing a whole bunch of other crazy stuff, and other episodes that I can talk to you about, and I can share on. Anyway, so yeah, that was the time that I got busted with hashish in India. Now, interesting footnote is that at the time I was swimming in this situation, right? I couldn't see anything but what was happening to me. In hindsight, much, much later down the track, I looked back and thought, shit, I think I'd actually been hustled. The cop and the dealer were actually in this together. They may have been, they may not have been. But like I said, at the time and in that moment, I couldn't see anything else other than 10 years in an Indian jail. All right, I'll pause it at that, leave it on that footnote. I think the learning out of that, though, is that even in the midst of that situation, I was still able to gather my thoughts, as I said, and not hand over the receipt, and kind of start to process my way through that situation. All right, that to me proves that no matter the situation you're in, there's always going to be a way that you can process your way out of it. All right, 8 minutes, 50 seconds, pushing pause there. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch up soon.